today we just filmed this podcast. We talked a lot today. It's a new podcast style we're doing, more on the personality side. You get to learn the behind the scenes, the problems we have to deal with, the struggles that each of us go through. A lot of maybe some inappropriate items, but it's
personality.
But excited for you guys to listen. We talk about some of the real estate problems that we deal with, and
some of the Franco problems that we deal with.
How the learning process is. There's a lot of attacking Franco on his training techniques, but listen in and tune into this podcast. Excited for you guys to watch. Welcome to the Mobile Home Movement, where we showcase the beauty and affordability of mobile homes. Here we break false myths and share all the positive stories of how mobile home ownership transforms lives. I'm Franco Perez, and this is the Mobile Home Movement. What's going on, guys? Today we are on a new style of episode on the Mobile Home Movement podcast. I've never done a podcast with more than one-on-one conversation. Viv had this idea, and we are excited. We're going to talk a lot today. It's going to be freestyle style, and today we're going to talk a bit about our story, a bit about what we do, some complications that we have to deal with. But let's start it off with introducing everyone and their names and your role, I guess.
Oh, so I'm gonna start?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, guys. I'm Tong. This is the first time I'm in front with the camera in the podcast.
Oh, and she's been avoiding this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm usually the one who sits behind the camera.
Yeah.
But I work a lot of the social media and the marketing on the team. Yeah. And then this is one of my first, I guess, real estate. Do you call it transaction? Yeah.
Cool. Oh, yeah. So, and she speaks Mandarin.
And she speaks Mandarin.
And I speak Cantonese.
Oh, and Cantonese.
I always forget about the Cantonese.
Because we haven't had to use it yet.
That's true.
I'm Sunny. I'm a real estate agent here for the team.
I'm Franco. I'm an agent here, too.
I'm Viv. I'm also an agent and an assistant on the team.
Awesome. Viv is really running a lot of the things. So, but basically, I wouldn't call you an assistant. But let's get on to this specific transaction. So South Lake is a mobile home park. It's kind of a hidden mobile home park. It's a family mobile home park right off of, I think it's Auto Mall and 880, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know about this, but there's like this beautiful lake in there. It's conveniently located between 680 and 880. And a lot of people want to be there. And it's very difficult to get in. Tell us about, first, how you got the listing, right?
So it was a referral with another agent from the brokerage. He didn't specialize in mobile homes. He basically just started on another team and he needed help locking in the listing. So I went there, did the listing appointment, got the listing, and then he was just basically hands off at that point. He's like, I don't want anything to do with mobile homes. I don't want to learn the process. And I was like, okay, I'll take it over.
Yeah.
So that's how I got the listing.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that that aren't in real estate. A lot of real estate agents help their friends, and sometimes even though they could just chase the commission, that sort of thing, when they're helping their friends, sometimes it's better to refer it out to somebody that's going to give more value. And that's cool that they reached out to you because you do this. He trusted you that you're going to give the best effort, the best skills, the best knowledge to help that seller out.
And I love that they contacted me first and not Franco. So I'm like the mobile home expert in the village.
Study mobile homes.
Study mobile homes now. I think I have like a club clip. I'll insert it somewhere where it says study mobile homes. That's how I market.
Cool. So tell me about the seller.
So the seller
Just briefly, their situation.
Yeah, so he is in the military. He's actually getting relocated to Kansas or Texas or something. And he lives in the mobile home with his wife, his 2 kids, and his parents. And they needed to sell the mobile home to buy a home in Texas, they had a timeline where we started in like November, December, and he was relocating in February. So ideally, he wanted everything packed up and moved out and closed by January, February, so that they can close on their home in Texas. So it was a lot of like juggling timelines, and it was a lot of making sure that nothing falls through, because if our side fell through, then they would have lost the house in Texas.
And he was always traveling because of the military, so it's very difficult to communicate with him. So
exactly.
It was a very delicate and messy situation.
Yeah, and his parents did not speak English like at all, so it was a lot of Vietnamese, and my Vietnamase definitely improved after this transaction.
Duolingo when you can have Viet clients.
Yeah.
Literally.
So cool. So you got it all listed, marketed, that sort of thing. There was a buyer that really only spoke Mandarin, and I was like, Tong, you're up.
So tables switched, because usually I'm on the buyer side and you're on the listing side. So Tong was kind of the main right-hand person on the buyer side for this situation. And you're kind of new to this. But what was it like kind of working with, actually, this is probably your second client. You helped on the seller side, but probably the first time on the buyer side. What was that like?
The deep breath.
Honestly, I guess when I got or when Franco let me know that, hey, this buyer speaks Mandarin, I was like, okay, maybe I could use some of what I know to help them. And I think
do you not speak Mandarin?
I do speak Mandarin. I do speak Mandarin. Yeah, I speak both.
Oh, okay.
But when I first, I guess I think my first interaction with her was, I think through text. And then after, we were coordinating to come in to sign the paperwork. And I kind of got to know a little bit about like her journey. I think she already owns, I guess, a few properties before. And she is not her first real estate transaction. But then she wanted to get a home under her own name. So that's where she found this mobile home, and she thought that, hey, it would be a good fit for, I guess, one of her homes. And this is actually an all cash buyer transaction too. So we were expecting the process to be pretty smooth. But of course, along the way, we had
there was issues.
A lot of issues.
We'll get into that. I do want to talk about therapy. How was it? How did you feel? What was it like coming into this? Were you scared? What helped ease the progress of it? What was it like?
Do I be honest?
How honest can we be?
I think something I'm really grateful for is that how we work as a team. And I think there was this once, because I'm pretty new to this as well, and if it wasn't like Viv or Sunny or Franco being there, then I would have been like, oh, I don't know what to do next, because of course, as a buyer or even a seller, it's like working with a company or agent, it's like for us, it's a big responsibility as well, because it's like, money that maybe they took a long time to save up to really put down on a home that, they really want. And so what's the question?
What helped you kind of, I know it was, to be truthful, I could tell you had a bit of anxiety and fear, but what kind of got you past that fear, you feel like? And you mentioned having us behind the scenes, maybe.
Yeah, I think...
What's your learning process like? Because you're learning as you're going with this.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think the biggest thing that I learned, I guess, through this this transaction is more about... the other day, Franco was talking to me about, the reflection as well, which is, it's having more of that, self-love for myself, and not just, I guess putting that on the side when someone is pressuring, for something to move forward. And of course, we want things to, the client wants to close the transaction faster as well to get their home. But at the same time, it's also something on both sides as well for the sellers too, and how we could really communicate that through, and also helping them be in the loop along the way.
Yeah. So learning that communication is key. in our world, a lot of people feel like we're just selling sunset. We just show a home, we sell it, we make a commission. Cool. Right? But the truth is, there's a lot of anxiety. There's multiple parties in the situation. There's the mobile home park. There's the sellers with anxiety. There's the buyers with a ton of anxiety. And both sides of the agents. And then
we have anxiety. That's a prerequisite to get on the team.
And it's important to think past problems. It's important to understand how to analyze problems and have a strategic approach to how we can get everyone happy and the transaction completed so that it works out for everyone, right? And there was a lot of tension. Buyers needed the home ASAP. Sellers needed this to be able to get their move done to Texas. And, there were other parties, outside parties that we weren't able to, I won't mention which party it is, but we weren't able to push. They were lagging on paperwork, that sort of thing. Yeah, it kind of came out to a situation where we had to seek legal advice. But that's the thing we have to do sometimes for our clients, right? Is when we're representing someone, we're on their team. We're there to back them. We don't want anyone to push them around. We want what's the right thing to do to always be done on their behalf, right? And that's kind of who we are. We're kind of, in a way, the lawyer to represent our clients, right? So that's kind of how that transpired. But you also mentioned communication, learning, entry, you getting into this space, communication, which a lot of people are like, yeah, I know communication. It's just updating, that sort of thing. But it's more than just giving updates. It's more than just telling them. Sometimes it's so important, the tonality, how you communicate. How do you portray emotion? How do you portray how important in this and why they should feel it's important when they don't think it's important, right? But actually, do you have something to touch on that, Viv, on kind of like communication? Could you talk a bit about that? Because I know you deal with that a lot.
First of all, I just wanted to kind of acknowledge what I saw in Tong when going through this transaction, because obviously she had a lot of questions and things like that and needed support. So I wanted to be there for her in order to get her through it, because this is her first transaction and she doesn't have much prior real estate knowledge before this. But seeing Tong kind of slowly learn how to basically communicate with the sellers in a way that would, ease their fears, but also get progress through was really impressive, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially doing it in another language, and with different cultures, there's going to be different ways of tonality and speaking and stuff like that. So when I was hearing Tong speak, I thought that she was upset and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in actuality, Tong was really good with dealing with the sellers or the buyer's emotions through that whole process. And but with communications, from my previous experiences, what's the question?
What have you learned as far as communication, like working through many different clients, working through many different emotions?
I see. So what I first learned is just kind of let them talk, let them feel the emotions, and you don't have to, also feel those emotions as well. But
Let me add to this, because you're getting into a part but in that situation, it was a very tense moment. The buyers, sometimes, not everyone's the kindest. I don't want to call anyone out.
No, we don't have to call anyone out.
But she's getting into a good point.
Yeah. So just basically letting them speak, but not taking it to heart, and just being calm and collective, and just acknowledging just understanding that they do have a lot of anxiety and things like that, and understanding where they're coming from, but just letting them feel that. And then just giving them time and to kind of process, and just lay out the options that they have and what we can do to move forward, and let them sit on that basically. And that way, you let them feel the emotions that they need to feel, but then when they have a clear mind, they can think about their options and move forward.
Oh, totally.
So, yeah.
And Sunny has a term for that I tell her all the time.
What?
We're not just real estate agents, but we're half agents, but we're also half what?
Therapist.
Perhaps
That's why I'm missing my therapy appointment today for this podcast.
I think it's important, everyone goes through it and everyone has clouded judgment sometimes. And when people come to us for advice, it's important we portray, I know you're going through a lot right now, but here's kind of the strategic right thing to do is our suggestion. But sometimes if you just say it out flat out, they won't connect with that. They won't understand the reason why. And it's important to communicate the why, hey, this is going to be good for you because you told me, I listened to you, that it is your goal to move to Houston, right? And we have to do this. And if we give up now, the chances of you moving to Houston this quarter, very unlikely, right? And being very delicate, being a great listener when it comes to communicating. And then after taking in the information, analyzing what are the decisions that need to be made and what's the best decision to be able to have the most successful percentage of outcome, right? So I think that's key. And that's one thing to make a note of too, is that each and every one of you are very caring individuals, whether they're rude to us sometimes or not. You always want what's best for them, which is kind of cool. So tell me something, Viv, that kind of tell us about like the listing side, actually. What's it like running listings? What do you feel like is important when it comes to managing a listing? What are problems to avoid? Are there any thoughts on that?
Is this for South Lake or just in general?
Just in general.
I feel like it's such a broad question. I can't really compare. I need some time to think.
No worries.
Alright.
We can go back to that.
Yeah.
But Sunny,
Oh God. Okay. Yes.
what would your advice be to Tong? Like if she were to help another buyer out, like how would you kind of guide her?
I think she did a great job with South Lake, given the complexities and difficulties with it. I think practice makes perfect. So I didn't really understand the entire process from like A to Z until probably my 6th or 7th transaction. So don't be too hard on yourself. But my biggest advice would just be, I don't really think real estate is more of like a hard skill thing. Like people think like, oh, you're there to sell houses. It's more of like a soft skill thing. So I think the biggest thing is building rapport with your clients so that when you talk to them and communicate with them, they genuinely know that like you're coming from a good place. Because if you don't build rapport and you say like, oh, I really think you should close on, like, you should really put an offer on this house, they're going to be like, well, you're just saying that because you want the commission. But then if you build rapport with them and you're like, oh, well, I think you should put offer on this house because of X, Y, Z, because of what you told me, then they're like, oh, well, Tong has been listening to me. She clearly knows like has my best interests at heart. So maybe I will like listen to her. Then your words will have more weight and value. But yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's really good.
What are things that you learned most from the transaction?
I think one thing it really made me, I guess, reflect more about is, it's like how to stand my own ground and
Yeah.
what I believe in. Because of course it's my first time, with a buyer transaction, and the buyers were pretty pushy, and for me it's just like, okay, I think it's like when I get pushed to a certain point, I'm just gonna be like, okay, let me fulfill their emotion or let them go with it. But then that wasn't like the right thing to do, of course, majority of the time. But in this time, like with this specific example, it really made me see that, hey, when I run into a certain situation, instead of making like an emotional decision for myself too, I should just pause and really think about the situation to see like, it's like, so what are the options? And it's like, how should I like go about on like that problem, rather than just, okay, this is what needs to be solved like right now, but maybe it does it, Yeah.
Yeah. And for context for the listeners, I think initially coming in here, you start out pretty, I think a lot of people are like this as they mature. They start kind of shy, soft-spoken, that sort of thing. And one of the things I try to teach is like, hey, make your stamp on the world. To make your stamp on the world, you got to be able to speak up when things aren't the way that it should be done, right? Don't let, just because someone's, how do I call it, alpha or like dominating the conversation, it doesn't mean you should give them their way always, right? And there's situations like that had happened, and I'm proud of you for kind of starting to push back and like, hey, this is the right thing to do, blah, 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 right? So, but it's kind of like a life ad, but
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that too. I kind of was the same way when I first started real estate, and it wasn't until I started getting more experience that I felt confident enough to push back. So like how you're feeling is like totally normal too.
Yeah. And then for me as well, I feel like I was really soft-spoken. I think Franco always bugged me on how quiet my voice was, and it wasn't until like one or two transactions that really brought out that voice. But it's just being comfortable with being loud is what I was told, and I don't think you have any issues with being louder, but because I don't think you're a soft-spoken. It's not like a bad thing, or it's a good thing that you're able to speak and a loud tone and really get your message across with whoever you're speaking to, so that they can clearly understand you.
Yeah.
So.
And I know I get most of the like hard negotiations and that sort of thing, but I kind of teach you guys, and you can talk about it here too, is that I teach you guys that it's good to have that kind face as well, but you got to train yourself to have the opposite side and multiple faces for different situations, right? Like we mentioned earlier, we're the lawyer representing our clients. Does our client want somebody representing them that will be pushed around? No. Like right now, anytime there's a hard situation, I get involved. I do all that too. But now we're starting to see like, hey, we need to have that face of like, this is wrong. This is what's right. If you choose not to, if you choose not to do it the way that's correct, this is what we'll do. And we will threaten sometimes the opposite party to let them know that we are very serious about helping our clients. Right?
That's usually you, though.
That is usually me.
Even though we're just like, no, you can't do that. Stop. They don't stop.
Yeah, the problems go upstream and go to me, which I'm happy to kind of. I love these challenges, and I think it's important. That's how we grow and do more together. Is you guys help. I mean, we do work as a team, and when there's issues and problems. I'm here. I'm always here for you guys, and the guiding way. Like basically, Tong starting off just being kind of in a way the translator of communication because they can only speak Mandarin. But through that, you're able to learn, and I think that's the biggest thing with our team is that we learn very fast because we get involved very fast and we get hands-on very fast. So many times I see agents go out there and learn it for years and not be able to manage a transaction. Whereas like, hey, Tong, you just started. I trust you with this. Here's the core elements that are very important. Let's walk through it together. And actually getting your feet wet, getting your hands dirty in the transaction in a real life situation. Some people might be against that, but the truth of it is we always are supporting each other. I'm in the background, Sunny's in the background for a situation like that. And together, collaboratively, we're able to build a ton of value for the team, right? Anyways, let's talk dynamics. But speaking of the team dynamics, Tong, what was it like closing? Because getting hands-on on the closing of that buyer was a big deal. There's a lot of stress and moving parts when it comes to closing. Talk through who you worked with on that. How did you make it work out? I think Franco was out of town that.
Where were you?
Scottsdale.
He'll say he'll go to Scottsdale, and I check his location. Why are you in Mexico?
Maybe I was in Mexico. I don't know.
Yeah. So I remember for this transaction, so we were originally planning to close early on in February, but it didn't go through because the paperwork and the park, and then on that week or around the second week of March or first week of March. It's where Sunny also shared that like the sellers needed to close their home on a certain date in Texas. So we're like, okay, we got to get this in by this Friday. So then we were like having a communication with escrow and also with the park as well. And Viv was helping a lot on the communication side of it. And then on that last day where it's like, I think it was like after lunch, it's like, okay, we got the paperwork, but we need
finally, this is like the last step, you know, after all we went through, we're like, this is the final step. All we need is, you know, to sign closing docs. And I think, you were here. So, you know.
There's a lot of, in the closing time, there was a lot of pressure added to make sure, because you cared about our clients so much between the two of you, pressure to the park management, pressure to everyone involved.
I love how he's always like, yeah, I'm here for you guys. I was out of town in this very pressure.
But Viv was here. So.
Yeah, I can answer a call.
Yeah, but what's it called? Yeah, so she came to me and she was like, Viv, how do I sign closing docs? I'm like, well, I can't go through this with her because I don't speak Mandarin. So I just like, you know, we had an hour, I think, or so before she came in where we finally got the docs. Everything was coming together. And I just kind of went through it really quickly with Tong. Didn't know if she would get it or not. But I think client was actually here in the office or something like that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is how you go through them. And she's like, okay. So then, you know, the three of us were in the office and Tong's going through it in Mandarin. And how was that like? I forgot. How are you feeling? Because you looked really nervous.
Yeah, because it was like, I think like an hour, 30 minutes before she came in. And I'm like, okay, I have to print these papers. I'm like, how many of like almost like 50 pages total? Because it's the park.
The lease.
The leasing agreement.
Agreement and also the closing documents as well.
Yeah. So both of them, and I'm like, well, it's like where like I think we should put like a marker on where they sign. But I'm like, I never went through this before, and I'm like, Viv, you know, like you know which park and stuff, and
I stamped it for you.
Yeah, and then she stamped it for me, and I was like, oh, can you sit in with me as well? Because I think she'll have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Viv was like sitting like in the room with me, and then I was like, I don't know this, or like she was asking about this part, and I was like, hey Viv, you know what this part talks about? And then Viv would explain it once, and then I would explain
a lot of translating. It was like two people translating at once. Yeah. So
glad I wasn't there because I don't speak Mandarin.
Yeah, but no, it was just me translating the paperwork words to Tong, who translated it to her. So it was very much working together as a team to get, you know, just the closing docs and to complete this transaction.
And in a group chat too, I was like, do you guys have any updates? Can you give me updates? The seller's asking me for updates. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I need an update.
And when, you know, we're asking for these updates, I think we all collectively had the same goal of, you know, helping the buyers and sellers be, you know, happy and getting this closed. So every time we were texting in the group chat, we tried to respond to each other right away. I think
that's
you sent like a question, and I already sent the thing right after you asked it. Because I just got what you needed, and I just clicked send, and you like right when you asked the question.
Yeah, and that's what I really appreciate about our team too, because like Viv really did like. Technically, the transaction was just between us three and stuff, but because we needed help, it was just like a group collab thing. And that's what I really appreciate too. Because sometimes, like, you know, there's like group cultures where if you just ask for updates, you're like, okay, this is my problem. You kind of just ignore it.
Man, it sounds like college.
I don't know. I never
I feel you.
No thoughts.
Zero.
You know, I feel that.
But it's like a group project, kind of, right? Where like,
and then no one responds.
Yeah, like no one responds in the group chat,
and then everyone wants the credit because one person's like out of town, Scottsdale.
Who's the one person that's not responding in the group chat? I'm kidding. But yeah, it's basically a group project. Like
it is a group, but it's an
sometimes
actual like
me disappearing helps you guys learn faster. That's how I see it. But
we learn how to be independent for sure.
Literally.
And problem solve for sure.
Yeah, like earlier in the pod, he's like, yeah, that's what I want to teach this team, you know, like get your feet wet. I'm like, feet wet? You like throw us in the water and then we drown.
And then you're like,
We
okay.
always float.
Yeah, we always
So we
float.
always float.
Mhm.
So I guess it's a good teaching.
No, it is
I'm
a
there
good
to help you
teaching
on your
thing.
last breath. Like,
No,
all right, you good? You're good.
like on the brink of like your last breath, which I feel like that's how we learn the
No,
most.
because
though.
yeah, that's how we learn though. Because with my first transaction, obviously when you go through something new, you're gonna always have like hella questions before you
Mhm.
actually want to start doing it, right? But I don't think what you said. You're just learning and not doing anything.
Mhm.
That helps to an extent, but really just putting. You did the same thing where you just put me in there, and any questions I had, I could ask. I could always ask, but I was just basically going through it for the first time, and that's what you did too. So.
Mhm.
I know it was pretty scary, for sure.
But like it trauma bonds all of us. That's how we're so close, is because like Franco puts us through like all these traumatic
Keep it.
He puts us through like these traumatic events and then we grow from it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think less traumatic, more so stressful.
Stressful, yes,
Yeah.
stressful. Sorry,
You guys handled it
it's
well.
still like my therapy session, so I'm still saying like trauma, like all of these things.
Podcast turned.
We're-
So how has
But it's
Franco
made you
been
guys-
devised too?
Whoa. But it's made you guys stronger. It's made you guys, I think it's that whole element we were talking about earlier. You're building this thick skin that allows for you to be, pounce harder on the next transaction, right? It's like,
Definitely.
Tong talks about this all the time. It's those that kind of struggle the most. And Tong goes through some weird phases where she'll go through weird struggles just to build herself stronger. And this is one of them.
Sleeping in the car.
We talked about
We will, but I want to touch real quick. I'll say it real quick just to get it over. You slept in the car for a few weeks
Yeah, I slept in the car for 2 weeks just to wake myself up in the morning.
What the?
as a challenge.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. But yeah, I don't know how to react to that. But anyways, people go through challenges. It's fascinating because those that go through these challenges are the ones that become stronger. And then we have, we all have kind of friends that have had zero challenges and have a ton of anxiety with medium problem situations, right? And it's important that we learn to navigate through these problems, learn to manage our emotions, our stress, and find that light in the tunnel.
I think it helps
a
too.
small light.
Yeah.
Very
If you squint-
end of the tunnel.
If you squint
If you squint hard enough.
and then you turn off all the lights and you
that
like
light.
that one. When you start hallucinating in the dark, then that might be the one.
There's like no light. So you just think there is, so you see it.
as you're drowning.
I feel like the fact that we all have anxiety too is like a good thing, because I feel like we can relate to one another.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, like relating to the struggles, right? So since we've been through all of that, seeing Tong go through it, we can really relate with her
Yeah.
and give her like the best advice, and also put her in the same situation so that
Yeah.
she understands.
Exactly.
I think touching on that topic is that something that I recently reflected is that we all go through many challenges and situations, but sometimes we aren't able to learn from it.
Yeah.
So it's not about how many things we go through, but it's about how many things we go through that we're able to learn from. And that's what's
So deep.
yeah, that's what's so great about our team,
Yeah.
because maybe Franco does throw us in those situations, but at the end when he pulls us up, he's like the
Does
dad
he pull
who-
us up?
Let her finish her brilliance.
Yeah, it's like
I want to be a dad.
Yeah, like a dad figure where it's like, hey, you did this and that. Hey, next time don't do this because it's you learned this from it.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
But in
you know?
like a nice way where we can learn, actually take a lesson from it, right? And
Yeah.
use it for our next transactions or in any problems in that we face. Like we can really just use those experiences to grow.
Yeah,
Is that how you're gonna be with the kid?
I think so. I
Also-
think.
Oh.
No, go for it.
I just want to talk too about how much problem solving that we go through. Because with this transaction specifically, with a real estate transaction, it's not an A to Z list of the same things you do to get through each transaction, right? There's always going to be problems that appear that we have no prior experiences of going through, or really like you don't expect these problems, right? So I think it's really cool how creative we can be to like actually problem solve. So I don't know if there's a specific problem that we can speak on.
You know why, right?
Well, I think
it's because
Yeah.
we're water science. Me and Julie, and then it's just him, the fire.
But
No, we're not talking science on this one.
You got that out.
what's one specific like problem that we had to kind of be creative with? Like, I feel like there's so many, but
I think entry level to that is the practice of letting you guys make these decisions and come up with it, right?
Yeah.
I think, I'm very truthful to you guys that sometimes I don't know the answer, and I let you guys decide, right? And it's you guys
What's your
making
favorite?
the decision.
Your favorite thing that you always told me the first year when I started real estate? I would come to him because I'd be so anxious. Like all my transactions, I'm like, there's so many choices. Like, which path do I take? I don't have enough experience to be like, okay, let's like take this path because this is like the best. And he would always, I would like talk to him and be like, what do you think? And he goes, there's no right or wrong answer.
I hate that.
You're not like, and I'm just like, and then sometimes when it got to a point where I would just call you and I'm just like, I already know what you're going to say. Just say it so I can hang up.
I say there's no wrong answer, right? I think, and then I also add, like, what does your instincts tell you?
And I'm like, I don't know what my instincts is telling me.
what are my instincts?
So, and I think when it comes to tackling a problem, it's gathering all of the information and really understanding the problem first.
Yeah.
I think we do a good job of that. And then from there, picking a path. And like how I talk about getting your feet wet and that sort of thing. My feet sweat right now, but no, I'm just kidding.
Are you
But I think what really does happen, and I think people don't realize this, but you build an IQ around real estate. You build confidence around making decisions. One decision in this scenario, you make a mistake, causes you to know the next decision in the next scenario, right? And that's kind of how we grow and tackle problems.
Yeah. And in that time, I would actually get like, not pissed off, but pretty annoyed. I'm just like, oh my God. Because I'd be so anxious. But then now, looking back at it, I'm glad that you put me through it because now I'm able to make decisions by myself. So thank you.
That's how you become independent.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating. And with most people, and me the same, it's very hard to make a decision. I think especially younger generations, it's very scary. Nobody wants to make a decision. But what you realize is if you really, again, want to make your stamp or impact on the world, you have to make decisions. And the more decisions you make, the better you are at making decisions.
Yeah.
And the smarter decisions you create. You're always going to have a wrong decision. But, it's when you're in that fork in the road, how do you pick that decision that allows for you to build that IQ around decision?
Tell us about a recent time where you picked a wrong decision.
Which one are you thinking of?
I don't know. That is a question.
I've made a lot of wrong decisions. Oh man, we'll get into that. But we talk a lot about us being behind the scenes, a lot of our problems and that sort of thing. But be truthful. I mean, like, even though we go through all those problems, do our clients feel like it's a problem working with somebody new? How's it like actually working with them, and how do they feel about that?
I think with working with someone new versus someone that's very experienced and has a lot of clients, some people actually love helping, the newer agents and things like that. And they also get a lot of value with newer agents at times because, we're devoting like our best and all to these clients. And also, since we're not working with a bunch of clients as well, we have a lot of time to dedicate to each individual client, which some people really truly value, because it's true. When you have a lot of things that you're doing at once, you can't give your 100% to each person or to each task that you're doing. For example, an agent that has a bunch of clients, right? Or a big company. Because when you deal with big companies, do you genuinely kind of feel like they really care about you as a singular client? Not
Yeah.
really, right? So some people love working with the smaller companies and things like that because they feel like they're genuinely being cared for. Because we genuinely do care
Yeah, we
about them.
genuinely care.
Like, you know, from person to person, just people experiences and things like that. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's really,
And that's one of the reasons why I actually got into real estate is because I'm not going to name any names, so don't worry. But I had such a bad experience with my real estate agent because she like between her and her partner, she was closing like, I started working with her in like April or something, like March or April, and she was already closing like 96 transactions in a span of 3 months. Like it was a lot on her team. But as soon as we went pending, she disappeared.
yeah.
And then like she took, like I worked so hard, but during closing, she just had like her assistant come meet me at the door and just give me the keys. No pictures, no celebration. And I really felt like she took that moment away from me. So I was like, okay, well, like if this is how agents are making clients feel, like if and when I become an agent, I never want my clients to feel that way.
Exactly.
So I feel like our team does a good job with all like the celebration and like the videos and everything too.
Because you have to remember, this is one of the
Yeah.
biggest moments in their lives.
Mhm.
Buying a home, some people don't ever get to do that in their lives.
Yeah.
So for the people that get to do that, you know, this is their stepping stone into, you know, their home ownership journey, right? So we want to make them feel like
Their legacy.
this
Yeah.
is a really
It's a-
big moment, and they
It's a
should be
big
proud,
accomplishment.
yeah, of themselves. You know, it's sometimes the transactions are bumpy through the road, but they got through it, and we have to remind them like you have to be happy about
Mhm.
these things. So you want to give them their moment for
Yeah.
sure. You know.
Yeah, you touched on something that I think is key, and I want others to understand as well. Is like usually, you know, there's pros and cons to working with a not busy agent versus a very busy agent, right?
Mhm.
And I think with our dynamic, we kind of blend both values
Yes.
as well. So like kind of you touched on this, but a lot of very great agents doing 100 transactions, whatever. Yes, they're great. Yes, they have a good brand, but the flaws to that is they're hard to reach. They can't juggle 20 transactions at the same time, and that sort of thing. And on the opposite hand, a newer learning agent, they have the opposite. They have a ton of time. You could get all the attention you want. They might not know all the answers right away, but you have their personalized attention,
Mhm.
right? And the way we work is like we always express is like we work as a team,
Yes.
and you know we have direct communication always. We're always connecting every day
Mhm.
on these situations, and now Viv can manage 5-10 clients and get all the information from Franco as not saying I'm the genius or whatever, but the expertise is all there. Same with Sunny. She can juggle 5-10 agents and give them the excellent attention, care,
Yes.
and that sort of thing. And with that, we work together. And now between the three of us, we're able to juggle 30, 40 clients at a time,
Mhm.
right? And with that, that's how we're able to maximize value, right? And that's why I see, you know, I know we talked a lot about problems we have in behind the scenes, but I want to express the clients, I see them at the closing moments. I see how thankful they are working with you guys.
Yeah.
They don't stop. Man, I'm such a baby lately.
You're literally.
Anyways, what I'm going to say is they are like fighting to tell me, Franco, Sonny did great at this, blah, blah, blah. Viv did great at this, blah, blah, blah. Like pushing me to like, let me know that you guys did a great job, right? I've never met these clients once.
Because he's always in Scottsdale.
Whoa.
I'm kidding. Are you okay? This is the second time he's cried on a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
But anyways, they because of that,
Yeah.
they actually enjoy. I know some people listening might be like, I wouldn't want to work with them because they're newbies, they're making these mistakes, that sort of thing. But like you said, they do,
It's
they
this-
appreciate your time. They appreciate
Yeah.
the attention.
Yeah, and then with that team dynamic too, with like back on this transaction with Tong and things like that, right? Even if she didn't have answers to her clients' questions at that exact moment, Tong can always just, come to us and she'll get that exact answer that she needs and provide that answer to her clients like an hour later, So it's not always like, it really matters who's backing up your agent as well and stuff like that. So like having a team that supports the agent and truly cares about them is so valuable.
Yeah, because I feel like we're friends like outside of this too. Because not only do we have a common goal, we care about the clients. We'll be at pickleball.
We care about each other.
Yeah, we care about each other. We'll be at pickleball, and then she'll be like on the call, like on DocuSign on the phone, and I'm like, Viv, are you okay? Like, we're like,
I'm like, yeah.
She's like, I just want to get this pending already. I'm like, okay, yeah, I support you, but like, you need to check in on yourself. Or like outside of work, we'll just send each other like
memes and
TikToks and everything too.
Yeah, so we support each other business wise and then also like emotionally wise too, which is why I love our team a lot. Yeah.
So Tong, how would you give us advice on firing people?
Oh my god! Yes.
And you know something about Tong is that she's very straightforward with
I love it.
with what she says, and we
love
love
it so much.
It's so comical,
so
right?
funny, like naturally funny.
Naturally funny. So
Cracks me up.
she'll talk to us normally and stuff like that, but then all of a sudden it's just straight. I don't know. What does she usually say?
The only example I can think of is like we have a team meet, like a weekly team meeting where we go through all of our transactions and stuff, and then Tong will like at the end.
And it's someone's first day there.
It was someone's first day, and then I think you guys were doing like end of year reviews or something, and then she's like, "Oh, this is what we're doing on marketing," and then Franco, "These are the people I think we should fire."
And I was just like, we were all like, what?
But or sometimes Franco will ask a question where he'll be like, "Hey Tong, do you need help with anything?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can sit."
Yeah, you can sit over there.
Yeah, you can sit over there. I'm like, oh, okay.
But like, it's not in a way where it makes us feel upset or anything. It's just genuinely so hilarious. And that's something like we all love about Tong is like, she can be straightforward and she stands on business and
I
gets
know, literally,
business done.
Literally.
She's like the definition of standing on business. Do you know what that means?
Do you know what that means, Franco?
I'm going to pretend like I do.
Sorry, we're the Gen Zers over here.
Oh yeah,
Or she classifies herself
I'm a
as
Gen Z. No, I'm kidding.
She's
Let's be real here.
she's a millennial Gen Z.
I'm a
wannabe.
millennial I don't know. I'm a millennial when I want to be and a Gen Z when I want to be. But sometimes we'll be on FaceTime, we'll be like talking and then Franco will go, "Say, what's sprinkle?" Or what else did you ask? You asked something else. Come to me.
I just love, but I think what's really funny is Gen Z teams or like Gen Z being on teams and stuff like that. It's because we just add our random TikTok sounds.
Oh, yeah,
and,
like
we'll teach him like our random phrase of the week and stuff like that. And then like right after we say it once or twice, he'll start using it and he'll start
I'm just
quoting
a
the
baby.
stuff.
Yeah, I was talking about a listing.
I like this little.
We were in the cafe just working. He's like, I think I like this little. I'm like, how did you learn that?
I was explaining like a tactical listing thing with Sunny, and I was like, we just have to add a little sprinkle.
And I'm just like,
That's not what sprinkle means. I was like, oh crap, my age is showing. Anyways, well, I think this is a cool little break from the too seriousness. I'm glad we get to add some personality of our team in these shows. And thanks all for being a part of it. Let's do more of these every once in a while. And I think it's cool that people get to know the background of who we are. And
have Julie next.
Yep.
Yeah, we gotta
have
have
a lot
Julie.
more.
We should just have a girls
members.
talk. We should just have a girls podcast. Our Blackpink podcast.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.